Ladies and gentlemen, how are you? My name is Larry Q. Jordan Jr. and welcome to the Conversations in Rhythm podcast. I'm really excited tonight because I'm going to be interviewing Mr. Bill Henry, the owner of the Mr. Henry Music brand, and I'm just really excited to pick this gentleman's brain. I teach elementary school, and I love it. And in the process one day of just getting some video materials together for my kids, I ran across Mr. Henry's YouTube page. Now, here's one of the things I made sure that I put in my advertising for this interview. If you go by his Instagram page, you will make the mistake of sleeping on him. Mr. Henry, his YouTube page is incredible, with over 70,000 followers worldwide, and his views are over 18 million views. You have to understand how huge that is. And I believe he just joined me. I look down, I see Mr. Henry's music just joined me. And so I'm really excited to talk with this gentleman because he's a brilliant educator. If you go to his YouTube page and you just scroll, there's over 200 videos. And being that, his heart is to educate beginner primary school age children. He's got it together. Like my kids, for example, my kids love his Mario presentation dealing with quarter notes, eighth notes, and quarter note rests. When I tell you, I've gotten a lot of mileage out of those lessons. And it's real cool because it's such a fun way to learn how to read music that the kids, a lot of times, they're so busy playing and having fun, they don't even realize, that they're learning. They're so busy like trying to duck the fireballs and all of that. If you've seen the video, you know what I'm talking about. But I want y'all to do this. I want you guys to go to Mr. Henry's Music World on YouTube, and I want you to subscribe. And I want you, as music educators, check him out. If you haven't, now some of y'all who are going to be watching this video, you already know how cool Mr. Henry's music is. You already know. I was talking with one of my brothers, shout out to Jerester Alexander. I was talking to him, and we literally were just geeking out for about a half an hour, just talking about how useful his YouTube page is as a resource. I also want to encourage everybody, when you get a chance, to make sure that you go to his website, Mr. Henry's Music World, because when I tell you this brother has this thing laid out, like it's brilliant. On the homepage, they say, how can we help you with your music journey? And then they have a whole track for you if you are a teacher, if you're a parent, and if you're a student. Honestly, the cat has he has his own. This is an online school. And it's brilliant. I also want to shout out, I appreciate him doing my podcast, but I also want to make sure that I shout out his podcast, because it's dope what he's doing over there. So it's called the Music Podcast for Kids with Mr. Henry and Mr. Fight. And heck, they've been mentioned in the New York Times and on Netflix. That's awesome. He's really doing this thing. And it's a podcast where kids can have fun, and there's educational content where they learn about music. And it's so cool because he deals with guitar, the orchestra, music from Africa. And even in his video on YouTube, he talks about how the whole aim, he talks about how the whole aim of the podcast is to talk with some of the leading figures in music today. So I believe he's joined me. Give me 1 second because I have to bring him in, and I'm just super excited to talk with him. Mr. Henry, if you would, could you shoot me a request to join? I just tried to invite you, and it's for whatever reason it's not letting me do it. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to be so blessed from a musical standpoint whenever you check out his page. Like I said, it's so detailed. Let's see. My kids love the Bluey. He has all of the kids stuff, right? So he has a video. It's a rhythmic play along, and it's Bluey. So the kids they watch the cartoon, so they're into that character, and I like to use that one quite a bit with my kindergartners and first graders, and I mean they love it because they love watching a cartoon, so they see something that's a part of their world, and once again, it's so brilliantly put together. They don't even realize, they don't realize how much they're learning. They realize that they're learning, but they don't realize how much they're learning. Through his materials, man, shoot, I got kindergartners and first graders reading snare etude books, at least like the warm-up exercises, so I'm really appreciative of this gentleman on a lot of different levels. Give me a second because I want to go down. Let's see. I'm excited to talk with him tonight about these raps okay, I'm trying to send a request in the comments. I don't think it's working. Okay, let me see. What is it doing? Yeah, this thing it's kind of weird. Let me see if I can. No, I don't think that is what we're trying to do. No. You're fine, Mr. Henry. It's not you. It's the tech. Because normally I'm able to invite people. There it is. I think you just shot me one. Boom. I know the audio just changed. There he is.
There we
Mr. Henry,
go.
how you doing, sir?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I was trying to do it on my computer and it wasn't really letting me. So,
I
can you
got you.
okay?
Yeah, I can see and hear you just
Okay.
fine. Uh-huh.
Okay, cool. All right,
Cool.
awesome. Yes, well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
And yeah, I was listening to some of the things you were saying. So, yeah, it's great to be here and thank you so much.
definitely. I'll do my formal presentation or my formal introduction now that you're here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conversations and Rhythms podcast. I am your host, Larry Q. Jordan Jr., and tonight we have the great honor and privilege of speaking with Mr. Bill Henry, brilliant educator and musician, because I'm checking out these tracks that you're putting together,
Yeah.
man. And this is something serious. So let's jump right on in it.
Yeah.
What brought you to music? You have such a beautiful heart to educate, children, and really you have a beautiful heart to just educate people about music. So how did you get into music? Was it at an early age? Like just give me a little bit of your background.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was I feel like it was pretty much inevitable. Both my parents are musicians.
Okay.
They school for music. They both met at Duquesne University. This is in Pittsburgh,
Okay.
so that's up. So, ever since I was a kid, my mom had me and my sister and my brothers. We were all doing stuff with music all the time.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so, I mean, even like I remember when I was like 4 and 5 going to like Eurythmics class.
That's what's
So
up.
yeah, and like bouncing balls and stuff. It was fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was always a part of what we did in our house.
Mhm.
But then, a lot of what we did was in church too.
Mm.
So my mom, she was a musical director at a church, multiple different churches. My dad would sing in the choir,
Mm.
um, and play piano, and all of that. So naturally, we were a part of that as well.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and then eventually we got involved with some like audition only chorus groups in Pittsburgh, and then started piano lessons, and really started to get like the training,
Uh-huh.
um, to become a music reader and all that good stuff. And then my mom, she was a music teacher at the elementary school I went to, and then she ended up being the music teacher at the high school that I went to. So
Wow.
uh, it was just there was a point where it was like, okay, what am I going to do with my
Mm.
life? And I originally wasn't really going to go into music,
Mhm.
but I went to the orientation for college, and the person that was there telling me about the music program,
Mhm.
saying if you want to pursue this, you really should start right away,
Mm.
just because I mean all the theory classes and oral skills classes. It's tough to catch up on that if you don't start right away. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll just do it, and I auditioned, and so it was, and went from there. But yeah, that's kind of a quick idea of how music became really the thing that I do.
Man, that's beautiful. Um, I share that upbringing of not only having a really close relationship with my mom, who was a singer, but
Yeah.
also having that background, that sacred background, like growing up
Or
in the church. The um, I think that part of uh, music education, especially in today's environment, isn't really talked about enough.
yeah.
Um, I mean, even from a technical standpoint, because the awesome thing about anything congregational is that it's designed to get everybody on the same page, and a lot of the techniques and strategies to do that are the most effective. Whether it's in a sacred space or in a secular space.
Right. Right.
Um, so man, I just think that that's really hip. So talk to me about music and music in terms of like genre. First off, like what's your primary instrument,
Yeah.
and then like who are you into? Because I know
Mhm.
you talked about the Eurythmics class, but I mean we know the pop group, the Eurythmics. I know the cats who are into pop music. I know their mind went there too. So who do you dig as well?
Yeah. Well, my primary instrument was piano. So piano, I
Okay.
took it, and eventually that was the instrument that I pursued in college.
Uh-huh.
Um, I love playing the drums. I try and pretend like I'm a drummer, but I'm not. And then I fake guitar really well, So, um, but yeah, piano was my primary instrument. In terms of like what I listen to,
Yeah.
man, it, I mean, throughout, gosh, I mean, there's so much
Mhm.
that I'm listening to and have listened to and have been into,
Uh-huh.
and like something like kind of like, oh man, like in middle school, for example, we were listening to, and it it just caught our ears, I guess. The boys in my middle school class, we were listening to like Master P and like
Okay.
uh,
Yeah.
like Mystical and Busta Rhymes,
Yeah.
but then I'm listening to Nirvana as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
like all over the place. And then, I mean, naturally, because my mom was a music teacher, there
Uh-huh.
was a lot of music that was getting thrown in there, listening to music, and so I feel like it was coming at all angles. Jazz, of course, was definitely listening to Brubeck, and I mean all those greats.
Mhm.
Um, so. yeah, it's just I feel like there's a lot of different influences from just the pop stuff that's on the radio to jazz to classical to rap. Really it's a melting pot for sure. I think now probably I listen to just more of. I feel like I'm listening more to like classic rock, like Steely Dan. I guess that's
Come
not
on.
really, but
Yeah,
like.
that's more like smart rock, but still, like Steely
Right,
Dan is yeah.
right. Yeah, like
Yeah.
and mostly the reason I'm listening to that is because of
Mhm.
the trio that I'm playing with.
Okay.
We like to play we're just playing covers and playing at
Mhm.
restaurants and so we're playing like Jamie Cullum, Steely Dan, but we'll play Coldplay,
Yeah.
things like that. Um, so it's we try and do some jazz. I'm not really a jazz piano player, but I try. It's fun. But yeah, I think that's kind of like what I'm listening to more now. And that's kind of there's a lot of different influences definitely throughout my life. So yeah.
Well, man, that's dope. Like that's dope, and I think that having that wide range is beautiful as an educator because
Mm.
you get students from so many different backgrounds, and the wider your musical palette is, the easier it is to connect with your kids. I know me, for example, I got kids that we're working on. For example, I got a little girl. She loves Green Day.
Okay.
So, our first lesson, I'm like, well, what's your favorite Green Day song? And she's like, when I come around, I'm like, bet. So we press play and
Yeah.
we're like, okay, so let's start dissecting this. But then like I got another kid who loves like Lecrae, so yeah,
That's
I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I see that in your concept, like with a lot of the content that you're creating. I see how I knew that you had to have a wide range of musical influences to make the type of materials, that you're creating, man, and that's
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you. And something that I was lucky enough to be exposed to in high school was a music class that was about ethnomusicology. So we
Mm-hmm.
studied, music from Bali, music from Ghana, music, it was from all over the
Yeah.
world. Um, Latin music and all of that. And so that was really that opened up my eyes a lot because we really got to see how what was going on in those cultures, first of all, but then also understanding how their music was and how
Mm.
important it was to their culture.
Yeah.
And that is definitely like I enjoy. There was a piece of music that we did called African Song Twos, and
Okay.
I cannot remember the person who wrote it, which is terrible
Mm-hmm.
because we studied it in depth. But basically, he was an ethnomusicologist that went to Africa and got all of these samples.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he ended up writing an entire, like, it was like an entire opera that was based around all of these samples.
That's
So
cool.
he incorporated drum sets and a choir. A choir was a part of it, and yeah, you should check it out. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
But what I loved about it was how fused these things together,
Yes.
and yeah, and it was really neat. And then obviously that's educating people um, who aren't in tune with what's going on as
Mhm.
to the type of music that's going on over there, and it's amazing. So I try to have that influence in what I'm doing as well. So hopefully.
I did. Well, now, man, it's definitely coming across. Uh, as I was saying before you had gotten on, um, man, your YouTube page, man, is incredible. I have a good friend of mine who's actually been teaching way longer than me,
Hmm.
and whenever I first started teaching, we were having coffee, and yeah, he just said straight up, he was like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna just go ahead. I'm gonna give you this YouTube page, Doctor or Mister Henry's Music." He was like, "Bro." He's like, you got to check this cat out, man. He's the truth. And for real, like I think after we had coffee that day, the very next day, I pulled up your Mario
Okay.
videos on on rhythmic
Yeah.
training. And
Yeah.
man, when I tell you my kids went nuts, because yeah, so like it's a really fun video for the people who haven't seen the video, and I continue to encourage everybody who not only will watch this tonight but who will see this in the future, go to his YouTube
Thank
page. And this video in particular is really cool because um, the kids are learning how to read quarter notes and eighth notes and quarter note rests, but the way you know you're using the syllables, uh, from pow, or you're taking pow from power and then
you.
super, uh, and but what I dig about it is the rests that you take in between the reading exercises, where like the kids are like they're like dodging fireballs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like it they're attracted to it because they know Mario as the video game, and the way that you geniusly interwove into the lesson plan the video game aspect. The kids feel like they're playing a video game, but it's
Right.
like, no, nah, you actually are becoming a pretty proficient reader, in regarding metric structure. Um, so man,
Yeah.
salute,
Uh,
because that's brilliant.
thanks. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm just, I've always wanted to try and make it fun. That's really my whole goal. In my classroom, I've been teaching for this my 19th year. I'm starting,
It's
and
awesome.
in my class, I'm just trying to get the kids to love music. That's my goal. That's the mission statement. I'm not super interested in making like these amazing musicians in the
Right.
elementary, right? I mean, I hope that I'm giving them skills that will allow them to be successful in middle school. That's really, giving them the skills. But I think if you give them the want to do it, then they're gonna continue doing it. And it's been cool to now see some kids that I've had in third grade who are now. There's a student I have. She's going to the Berkeley School of Music. So it's you see stuff like that, and it's like, oh wow, it takes a long time. To see that that result and that reward. It's like, oh wow, I mean, you start to see it. It does take time, but you do see how it'll impact, kids. So yeah, that's really the whole goal. That's and so I try and do that through the videos so that other people can offer that experience and, do your own spin on things too.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Definitely. And to your point about taking your own spin on it, um, I was saying before you had gotten on, because of the training that my kids have gotten from your videos, and whenever I say my kids, I mean literally like my kindergartners and first graders.
Yeah.
They're already reading like the introductory warm-ups in snare etude books. Like I'll have them one of the processes I'll have them go through is we'll watch one of your videos, right? They get to scream, they get to have fun, and then right after we watch the videos, I have them sit down at their learning stations and I hand them snare etudes, and we're tapping out entire etudes on the
Right.
table.
That's
And it ain't sad neither. It's like, no, like these kids are on it. You know what I mean?
right.
So
That's a
so yeah, man, I appreciate what you're doing so much, and even hearing about the young lady who's going to Berkeley, uh, I can only imagine how many children, not only that you know in person, who you've been able to influence so heavily, but man, let's not act like 75,000 people from around the world who are subscribed to your page. Let's not act like that's a small thing. Like, dude, you doing numbers, and so I think that is really cool that, in the virtual space, you're making such a huge impact. And I can only imagine, man, what that's like. Like you're sitting having a cup of coffee, or, or like you're going through the airport and somebody runs up on you Like myself, just like, hey man, Mr. Henry, hey man, I appreciate what you're doing. Like, has that ever happened? Or how often does that happen, rather?
No, actually, I haven't. I don't think I've had. I guess that's not entirely true. There have been. There are teachers around where I live. So I live like just like 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia,
Okay.
uh, Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
I teach for Maryland because we're right on the border.
Okay.
But but I've heard of like there's kids that my family that we know
Uh-huh.
because of just being friends with other families,
Mhm.
and those kids will come up and say, "Mr. Ben, your video was on in our school."
That's cool.
So
Yeah.
I know that there are teachers that are just within the locally who are using the videos,
Mhm.
and they probably don't know that I live like right here.
Yeah.
Um, and then so I have had that happen, but I
Uh-huh.
haven't had anyone like if I'm like just walking around and someone's like, "Hey, I've seen your video." I haven't had that type of celebrity moment, if you call it that. So no, I haven't had that. But yeah, some friends of kids are like, "Mr. Bill, his video was on our screen in our music class." So
That's cool.
yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's slick, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not surprised if that happens now that we've talked about it. And when it does, if you could please shoot me an inbox and be like,
I will.
Larry, man, the thing happened. Yeah, because I'm telling you, man, the impact that you're having is huge. I was sitting in a district meeting with all of the elementary school educators uh, here in North Carolina, or here in Greensboro, and another one of our teachers she's been teaching over 25 something odd years,
Yeah.
and she was talking about how amazing your materials were. And this was, yeah, this was like in the corporate setting, and I hadn't spoken to her, and my friend Mr. Alexander hadn't spoken to her about it either. It's just one of those things where, especially now after COVID, where like the world, like this kind of format, like we've grown accustomed to in a greater capacity. Um, yeah, it's like what you're doing is definitely affecting a lot of people. That brings me to my next question.
Sure.
So I saw that you started your page, was it in 2019? Is
Yeah. Yeah. So 2019, I think that's when I started it.
Mhm.
Wow, it's not long, like 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I started that, I actually started it as more of a piano education. So
Wow.
it was really to help kids learn how to play the piano online.
Hmm.
That's what it started out as, and then it was really, and I can't think of the year that it was, but it was during COVID. It was during those COVID years. I thought, uh, and the channel at that point wasn't doing, I mean, it was, some people were subscribing, and it was like, wow, this is pretty cool. But then there was one particular video, it was the Halloween rap, and
Um,
I decided to put that together. The uh, the main reason I think I got cut off a little bit. So I was saying the Halloween rap. I put that out,
uh-huh.
and the main reason for that was for elementary teachers. And that video, after I put it up, got like 80,000 views, which was like insane. Like I was like, oh my word, what is
Yeah.
this? Uh, and it was for that one. It was just doing rhythms and some body percussion, and
Mhm.
yeah, it wasn't too crazy. But I had a lot of fun doing it. That was the thing.
Mhm.
I really had a lot of fun. The piano stuff was okay. Like I had some fun with it. I got to be goofy, but I felt like with this, I really got to uh, produce the music and try and come up with a full concept.
Yeah.
So once I did that video, then I was like, okay, well, I guess I better do a Thanksgiving rap. So I did a
Um,
Thanksgiving rap the next And honestly, at this point, like video editing, I wasn't super great with. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was
Mhm.
just, I mean, I remember times when I would mess something completely up and I would just delete it and start all over again because I didn't know how to unfix it. That's how much I didn't know.
Uh-huh.
So, over time, I just started to get better and understand kind of what to do. Um, but yeah, I did a Thanksgiving wrap, and that got like over 200,000 views. I was like, okay, all right, this is getting crazy. So that was really the starting point of creating content for music education,
Wow.
in the classroom, like elementary music teachers to use in the classroom. That's kind of when that started. So yeah, so I started in 2019, but I want to say maybe that video came out in 2021 or 2020. It was around those COVID years.
Mhm.
So I felt like that was like really the start, and then I pretty much just continued with doing that material, because it seemed like people were into it. So yeah,
Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome, and I think it's beautiful that they talk about what necessity is the mother of invention. Um, the need to create the content made way for all of the other skill sets needed to uh, be what it is now.
right,
Um, yeah, man. So I'm trying to figure out how to even ask the question I want to
sure,
ask. It's okay. So if we could pause for a second and just talk about like content creation. Like how many hours would you say is like part of like you like because I mean you have a lot of material that's accumulated over time, but people don't understand like for you to make a 3 minute and 25 second video, like a lot of time goes into that.
yeah, yeah. It does take a lot of time. Yeah, I start with the music, and that can take, I mean, it can take a while. And usually I'll do a whole, I'll kind of come up with a general idea, but then I go back and really add to it or take away and do all the mastering and listening to it. And I wouldn't say I'm great at that. I think that I'm okay at all of the production of things. I'm getting better, I think. But, it takes time, and it takes
Mhm,
time to figure out, what compression is going to work on certain things. And, so that can take, many hours just doing that.
uh-huh,
But once I crack, then, yeah, then I'll start building things. At this point, it's definitely a lot. I can do it a lot faster than what I used to, but
uh-huh,
even then, it probably takes me. Usually, I get up really early in the morning and work
mhm,
on this before I go to school. And so I would say probably like, it's hard to say. It depends on the video, but
mhm.
let's say probably like 10 hours per video. But
Shoot.
it was way more when I was doing it before,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, but that's maybe a ballpark. Some might
Mhm,
take me a little less, some might take more. So yeah, yeah, it does take time. Yeah,
yeah.
but I really like doing it, and I
Mhm,
feel like, if I start doing something at like 5 in the morning, which is kind of usually when I do it, maybe even before that,
mhm,
um, I'll go from like 5 to 7, and like 7 o'clock comes by like so fast,
yeah.
So like you get into this like weird state. It's similar like when playing music too. Like when I play, like I can't, like, we start at 5:30, we end at 8:30. It's like over like that.
Yeah.
So I kind of get into that flow where it doesn't feel like I'm working because it's fun, you
Mhm.
know. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. And while you were saying that, what was coming to mind was I was having a conversation with one of my old professors about how there are certain ways that I'm using the skills I learned in college, like for composition and arranging, but like in a different way, you know.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm not, and I was thinking about that in relation to what you're doing because you are composing. You know what I mean? But it's on an even broader scale. It's like obviously you're composing the music for it, but it's taking. You need directorial skills. You need production skills, and I mean you're like you said for. I really want the people to pay attention to what you're saying that to get a 3.5 minute video, it takes about 10 hours. Like that's huge, you know? And
Yeah.
I mean, we understand that as musicians. Like we also understand it's like, okay, for me to play like this 8 bar super difficult passage, I have to practice this for however many
Right.
hours until yeah, until I get it fluid. But
Yep.
um yeah, man, yeah, I got a lot of respect and honestly, man, forget respect. I got a lot of honor for what you're doing
Oh, thanks.
because yeah, man, it's honorable. It's and the thing that I like about it too is um it's on the internet, so it's up forever. So it's like, man, kids 100 years from now will be able to, and computers are going to be crazy from then. You know what I'm saying? They'll probably have everybody will probably have all like Neuralinks or something.
Yeah.
But like, it's, yeah, like, but either way, like they'll be able to check out your stuff and and learn, and man, that's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh, yeah. So I'm assuming that you like what are your degrees in? Like did you I know you said you were a music major, but did you
Yeah.
go performance track or did you go education track?
So I started out as music business. The
Okay.
school I went to had a music business degree, which was kind of
Okay.
a hybrid of business and music, but then there were some classes that came together for
Mm-hmm.
actual, um, which was one of the reasons why I went to that school. It was just a state school north of Pittsburgh called Clarion University.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the, the but as I went through, um, there was a teacher, Dr. Wardlaw, and I took his class, which was a trumpet class or a brass class, where you had to teach kids how to, or teach how to, you had to play trumpet, right? You had to learn how to play, but then you had to actually, he had you teaching how to play
Mm-hmm.
trumpet. And I got into a room and I taught uh, a friend of mine to play the trumpet, just the first note or what have you. And he said, "Bill, are you in music education or are you in music business?" They didn't have a performance degree there.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oh, I'm in music business." And he's like, "You need to be in music education." And so,
Wow.
like 2 years into my degree as music business. So I called my dad and I said, "Hey, can I add music education?" Because I figured out a lot of it crossed over.
Mm-hmm.
A little more time to get things done because I was doing a dual degree.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, he said, "I had a feeling you might ask that." And so
That's
I ended
beautiful.
up adding education. So yeah, music business and music education. And then piano was the principal instrument. And my teacher, she kind of treated us as if we were performance majors.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of practicing involved and all of that. We didn't have to do a junior recital. I think that's typically what a performance major does.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we didn't have to do a junior one, but we had to do a senior one, of course. So, uh, but yeah, so yeah, that was the degree. So, yeah.
Wow, that's hip. And shout out to Dr. Henry. That's one of my professors at North Carolina A&T
Okay.
State University here in Greensboro, and I know he's resonating a lot with what you're saying in the collegiate space because I remember Dr. Henry. He was over a lot of the courses for the music ed majors whenever I was a student there. Um, you said something so powerful because I'm I see it on your YouTube page, but whenever I went to your site, I was like, man, this cat's business acumen is through the roof.
Uh,
And yeah, man, yeah. And
Thank you.
so yeah, the fact that I was a music business major. That makes perfect sense. So I see how you had to you know you switched your major 2 years in.
Yeah.
But talk to me about some of the things that you learned um whenever you were on the music business track, because clearly like you're reaping the fruits of of that as well.
Yeah, you know that degree, there was a lot of business classes that I would take that
Hmm.
didn't have to do with music necessarily, just business.
Hmm.
Microeconomics, theater, econ, and all these different yeah, business courses. But like I said, there was a point where we crossed over, and during that, it was a pretty cool class. The teacher was pretty cool because he brought us to um, like a recording studio, and we learned about like if you wanted to be a manager at like a music store doing band instruments and things like that. And I was kind of, it was interesting, but I was kind of like, I don't know if I really would want to do that. My brother ended up, he started out as a music engineer
Mm,
in New York,
that's
and
good.
as a degree, but then like he was kind of going through it and learning about what to do in a recording studio,
Hmm.
and even like, I don't know if I really want to do this now. So I felt like we were kind of in the same situation. He's just a computer engineer now, but
Hmm.
the I felt like what I gained from that was probably just an understanding of business somewhat, and
Hmm.
just kind of made it so that I was more interested. I think that's really what it was. It gave me that interest. But then I went to student teaching and all that, and then right out of college I got a teaching job um, with in Maryland. So teaching elementary music. So I've been doing that the whole time. But there was always like, as I was going through, there was always this kind of like business thing that I wanted to do, and I kind of was doing that. I was giving lessons, right? So
Hmm.
there's some business side to that, right? You had to keep track of things and all that. But yeah, I feel like this does kind of scratch that itch of interest, of kind of having that business side of it.
Hmm.
But all of everything that I've kind of learned for online business, I mean, none of that was taught in college, right? Because
Uh-huh.
it wasn't really even a thing.
Yeah.
Uh, this idea of running your own business online. So
Hmm.
a lot of that is just listening to guys like Pat Flynn,
Hmm.
um, those type of, I guess you could call them gurus, or I don't know, but yeah, just learning from what they're doing, and how they just try and serve. It's like Pat Flynn's the best. He always
Okay.
talks about just being there for the people that you want to serve, and all the other stuff will come through, but and you just can't give up on the people that you're trying to serve, right? So that's it. Yeah, that's where really a lot of that business sense or understanding came from. Not really so much from college,
Uh-huh.
but that definitely kind of helped with wanting to get into it.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Well, man, that's super cool, and yeah, like that. I think that that's really good for students who are currently in uh, college to
Mm.
hear that they may not, in 10, 15 years after graduation, they may not be doing the exact thing but they can be in the ballpark, and some of those skill sets that they have acquired, at least like the initial seed, can still be
Yeah.
used.
Yes.
Um,
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
So go
But
ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, that it's, yeah, even if it's something that you feel like you didn't do right away after college, so what?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
you got plenty of time. So it can be something that comes later. And honestly, I feel like if I tried to do something earlier, I probably would have given up. You know, like that's just for me. I feel like it was the time to do it. So yeah, because I always kind of in the back of my head thought there's something that I want to do, but I just
Hmm.
don't know what, I don't know when, and then it just, I don't know, it just started doing it. So it doesn't have to be right away, and there's plenty of time to do it. So yeah.
That's incredible. Um, Mr. Or Dr. Henry just posted. He says it's also great that the both of you had supportive parents to pursue
Yeah.
music. I agree wholeheartedly with you, Dr.
Cool.
Henry.
Yep.
Um, whenever I think of my parents, like I have specific things that I know my dad contributed to my musical upbringing and to my overall artistic concept, and the same thing for my mom. What were the things that you gleaned from your parents that you've been able to combine into what you're doing now?
Whew, yeah. I mean, my parents, you know, they're my mom is feisty Italian,
It's
so I
cool,
feel
man.
I get some of that sometimes, when I need to. But then my dad is like just total
Uh,
chill, and that helps too. So I think, yeah, I kind of feel like I'm almost like a blend of their personalities in a way.
uh,
And if I need to get something done, then my mom comes out. But
uh,
if something needs to be kind of looked at and analyzed a little bit better, I feel like,
uh,
right, and we can like sit back and really think of this logically, and is this really going to work, or what have you. And that's not just with creating video, that's just anything.
mhm.
So yeah, I think that's definitely an influence from them, um, that I think just allows me to be me, I guess. I don't know. And they're funny. I try and put humor into things. So yeah, 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 I think that's it. Yeah.
That's super cool, man. That's super cool. Now, uh, I forgot what you said your dad's instrument was.
Oh yeah. So
What is it?
my dad, a trombone player. I mean, he still plays trombone.
Uh-huh.
Uh, that was his major in college. My
That's
mom was
cool.
a flute player,
Uh-huh.
she still plays. They both still play. But my dad is very proficient in piano as well.
Mm.
Um, and they both sing and all that. So, but those were their primary instruments. And my dad ended up, when I was real little, they owned a music store,
Okay.
and they did lessons within that store, and sold. Um, but then they eventually sold that, and moved on. But I remember as a kid, like sitting and playing electric drums when they were first coming out.
Come on, man.
Uh, and there's like pictures of me on amps with huge guitar. you know.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so yeah, that was. But my dad, he ended up not really pursuing music as a career.
Hmm.
Kind of working in banking, and has done that pretty much all his life. But music was always a part of it. But then, like I said, my mom, she taught music. So yeah.
That's
Yep.
cool, man. That's beautiful, man. Because I mean, uh, even hearing that, about like them having a music store and things like that whenever you were little, like
Yeah.
it's just I'm always interested in hearing people's background because it gives a little bit of insight into what they're doing.
Right.
Um,
I gotta
so
plug this in. My phone's about to die. Let me see if I can.
uh,
My, no. Okay. Sorry.
yeah, it's all good, man.
All right.
Um,
There we go.
so I was super psyched to see about your podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. Could you tell the people about your podcast?
Yeah, sure. So, my good friend Bruce and I, we both teach for the same county. And one day Bruce came to me and was like, well, we had always kind of been talking about doing a podcast. And
Uh,
originally we were thinking about doing like a podcast for music teachers to kind of chat about certain things. Um, and Bruce came in one day and was like, "Yeah, Bill, we should do a podcast for kids, a music podcast for kids." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, let's do that." So I like immediately just started like writing little jingles. Oh my gosh, writing little jingles for things like for the pieces in
uh,
between, and uh, just starting to kind of like piece it all together. And I think he was kind of like, oh boy, what's going on here?
uh,
I was writing scripts. So, but basically, the show is about, we're just taking like musical concepts, like, all about rhythm, or we do a lot of going to different countries and learn about music from different countries. And we try and it's put in more of like a storyline.
mhm,
So it's a scripted, it's all scripted out, and he comes to my studio here, and we just, hash out all the voice stuff, and then I go and do all the editing. So I put in the sound effects and all of that good stuff, and yeah, it's kind of like this. It's so the kids are learning about music, but they're also following something that they a storyline.
uh-huh,
So, like for example, we do one about Australia, and
uh-huh,
but the way we get there is in a submarine, right? So, just like ridiculous things like that. So, of course, we're talking about music from Australia,
mhm,
and actually, we got to interview Tim Toppin, who's a piano. He has an online business where he helps piano teachers,
wow.
and he's from Australia, of course. So we talked to him about kind of the music and all of that. In that we do like an interview after the storyline. But yeah, so that's kind of that's a general idea of what's going on. We try and be silly, and we write songs for it. Um, and what we found is a lot of teachers really like using it for as sub plans. It's really a great sub plan
Mhm,
because the sub can just press play,
uh,
and the kids can listen and maybe write a little comic strip of what's occurring in the episode, just to kind of keep them focused on something.
mhm,
um, and uh, uh, they're learning all about music, but they're entertained and enjoying it at the same time. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to produce. We haven't been producing much lately, but we are starting to get back into doing some episodes. And Bruce is an amazing educator. He's been teaching for like 25 years now,
wow.
and he has a great concept with a music house. So like how a song is kind of like a house, the foundation is beat and rhythm, and he has the walls are pitch and melody and all of this. And so we're kind of finishing this up finally,
Uh-huh,
but we're going through all of the elements of music, kind of like building a house. So that's going to be something available for teachers as well. So yeah, it's just a lot of fun, and that's the idea of it. And one of the things that we think is real important. I mean, I love video and I love using video,
mhm,
but what's great about this is, I mean, kids are so used to video all the time. What's
right,
great about
mhm,
this is that they can use their imagination because they're only listening.
mhm,
And a lot of the time, when I have kids listen to it in my classroom, they go, "Where's the video, Mr. Henry? The video's not working." They think there's
yeah,
supposed to be video with it, and I'm like, "No, no,
yeah,
no. You listen and you're going to create a drawing that you're creating the video in your brain, so it's really a great way to get kids engaged without using video. Right, here's the
Mm-hmm.
video guy, use video. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I love using video, of course, because we have visual learners, but this is great for the kids who can, who are listening, but then also great for kids who aren't doing much listening, right, so that they can
Right.
be exposed. So yeah, so it's a fun project. Yeah.
That's fly, man. And I think that, you brought up a huge point. As educators in this generation, you're right. Everything that children experience now is connected to some type of video. And, previous generations, one of the things that they have that's an advantage over us is attention span, and that's connected to uh, radio. The technology that they had uh, gave way to like a more qualitative experience, because, like you said, you're sitting listening to the radio, and your brain, or you're listening to the audio, and your brain is coming up with the visual component, and I think a lot of that is lacking. So the fact that you're intentional uh, from that aspect, man, I think that's incredible.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun too. It's fun to put them together, and Bruce and I get together. I mean, at PDs, Bruce and I we're together. We always say we would have gotten in trouble in high school if we went to high school together. We're always goofing off, and so it's
Yeah.
fun to be able to do that in an entertainment setting. We sit back and write these scripts and just we're just laughing. So yeah, it's a lot of fun at the same time. And yeah, the hope is that kids, you know, even just listening in the car, it's not even really for it wasn't really created even for music educators to use in a classroom. It just has worked its way into that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
one of the hopes was just like, families going on vacation. Hey, let's listen to the music podcast for kids. And it's something that's entertaining, but the kids are learning about music. That was the ultimate goal. But it's cool that it's being used in the classroom too. So
Hmm. That's, man, that's yeah, that's killing. There's no other word to describe it. Um, I don't want to take up your whole evening, man. But I'm really enjoying this. I'm very fascinated with the different things that you're saying, and honestly too, just your thought process. Just like as an artist, and as an educator, because once again, like I said earlier about the compositional component, like, yeah, man, it's you're very humble, right? And you're very approachable in your demeanor. But man, what you doing is huge. Like this, you know what I'm saying? Like this ain't just something light that you're putting together. Um, like, what are some of your plans for the future? Like what? So, are there some new branches of your brand that, like, you have coming on the horizon that we should be on the lookout for?
uh yeah, I mean I'm still gonna be, yeah, I'm working on some videos. The Mario one that you were talking about, I'm actually
Uh,
kind of redoing it and turning it into Rhythm Poison. I don't know if you've ever
yeah, I
done the Rhythm Poison.
watch your poison
Yeah,
videos.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
those are fun. Yeah, so I'm kind of doing like a version of that, but it'll
Okay.
be Poison. Another one that a lot of people like are the Four Corners games. I don't know if you've ever
Yes.
done. Yeah, those are fun. Yeah, so I'm doing I just finished up a music history one. So like
Okay.
kids will listen to music from the Baroque period, classical, romantic, and
Mhm.
20th century. So so that one's coming up. So continuing to do stuff like that. But one thing that I'm starting to hone in on and trying to figure out is
Mhm.
bucket drums.
Ah,
I don't know if you've done bucket drums before, but I've been starting to do bucket drums in the classroom,
mhm.
and yeah, kids really love it. It's awfully loud,
Yeah.
but kids really like it. And so I want to try and do. I'm thinking about doing some bucket drum videos
Hmm.
that teachers could. So yeah, yeah, that's probably. I would say that's probably like the next bigger project, and trying to create a curriculum around that. I have like a recorder curriculum and a ukulele curriculum and a piano curriculum for the elementary classroom. So I'm thinking about that being another curriculum. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to figure it all out in my head here, but yeah, that's probably the next kind of big thing coming. Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, that's gonna be super hip. The just to tell the people who haven't seen your Four Corners games
Mm.
videos, the one I mean, obviously we've done it's two videos that I'm familiar with, and I've had my kids do both of them. One dealing with the different instruments in the orchestra,
Yeah.
and them being able to recognize. But the my kids love the rhythm
Yeah.
one. Obviously, you know everything I do is rhythmic bias because I'm a percussionist. But the the thing that's brilliant about the way you've combined Four Corners with the music lesson is that it's um it's a great way to assess how well the kids are understanding things
Right.
because you know for example with the rhythmic video the kids are given a choice of four rhythms
Mm-hmm.
and then they listen for the rhythm and then they have to identify which one out of the four is correct and when I realized the day I realized, man, we're gonna play this game all the time. I had a group of second graders, and it was a group of kids. Let's just say they were in corner number three, like they ran the corner number three, right?
Mm-hmm.
But whenever we were listening to the rhythm, the kids were getting upset because they realized they were in
Hey,
the wrong corner.
wrong one. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just like, man, this is off the chain because this is what it's about. It's like, yeah, we're having fun, but you're also learning like
Right.
some serious listening skills. Like there are skills and me personally, the way I like to combine your video, I like to combine your video with my talking drum unit. Just getting the kids to understand the idea that we talked about ethnomusicology earlier.
Right.
Um, there's a whole system and there's a whole culture built around uh, transmitting messages in rhythm, encoding messages that we would give verbally with one another. We can encode those things in rhythm, and that video really helps out a lot because the kids are like, "Oh snap!" Like I see the connection because Mr. Henry just gave me the coded message, and now I gotta do the multiple choice test to
Right.
figure it out. So, man, salute to what you're doing. It's working. I could tell you that. In fact, I actually because of your videos, the frequent use of them, like I says, man, my kids are reading rhythms like on a very 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 high level.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's noticed by everybody. Like my admin is digging what's happening, as well as the classroom teachers. So thank you, man.
Yeah. Oh no, thank you. I appreciate it. That's great to hear.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like I says, I could talk with you for a super long time, but I don't want to talk your head off. Was there was there anything that you want to share with the people before we got ready to end our interview? Was there anything else that you wanted to share with them?
Not really. I mean, I just appreciate you, Larry. I mean, truly. Thank you for, you know, all of your kind comments and for having me on your show and doing this live. Yeah, it's really it's so cool to hear what's happening in people's classrooms, and it just makes me want to stay up all night and do another video. You know,
That's what's up.
you
That's what's
know.
up.
So I mean, it's all of the educators who send me an email or send me a message or what have you, or I get to talk to like this. yeah, it just makes it like, oh, okay, this really is helping, and it just makes me want to do it more. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, definitely, definitely, and I want to go ahead and put it out there. I would love to sit down and talk with you again, if you know, if that's something you would be
Yeah,
interested in. Yeah, because like I said, um, so many people, so many educators I know here in Greensboro or in the Guilford County system, like they mentioned talking about your your videos and your content, and and I sent out an email letting everybody know I was interviewing you
cool.
tonight. And so their mind's gonna be blown whenever we watch this at our next district meeting. They're gonna be like, "What?" Yeah, because yeah, man, you're a rock star. So man, I salute you, and I really appreciate you coming on and spending a couple minutes with me, and also with the audience, not only the people that are seeing it tonight, but also those who will see this in the future. Um, so with that said, I reckon we're gonna sign off.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you so much once again.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
Larry. Appreciate it.
All right, now.
Take care, man.
Have a
I'll
good night. Yes, sir.